Welcome back. And so from the subject of ambassadorial nominees, we head over to regulation on Nigerian roads. Is it a matter of convention or a matter of government regulation? This comes on the heels of a court of appeal in Abuja, which affirmed a judgment of a federal high court, Abuja, which also barred the Directorate of Road Traffic Services, also called Vehicle Inspection Officers, VIO, from further stopping, impounding, or confiscating vehicles on the road and imposing fines on motorists. Of course, this is a case initiated by a public interest lawyer, an individual, Abubakar Marshall. Let's get perspectives, legal perspectives on this matter. And constitutional lawyer, Mr. Malaki Ugummadu, joins us right here in our Lagos studio. Mr. Ugummadu, thank you for coming through on this one.
Thank you for the opportunity again. Good morning, viewers.
Yeah. Thank you for coming, sir. Now, this just adds to the growing number of litigations that we've seen over the last decade on the function of VIO to inspect vehicles. I recall that, sometime during the tenure of former governor of Lagos State, Akinwumi Ambode, the vehicle inspection officers were withdrawn from the roads, and for a time it was not seen. Let's put it into proper perspective now. Which body, either government or arm of government, has the powers to regulate vehicles on the road constitutionally?
Well, you would know that the Constitution is the organic law. It sets out the framework of the laws regulating the country, the powers, and the delineation of those powers. You don't find everything in the Constitution. These are statutory matters. Now, having said that, the police, there is a traffic division of the Nigerian police that deals with all of this, not the VIO, which is an agency separate from the police. What the court has done is, to, like you said, to affirm the judgment of the Federal High Court and emphasize the point that the VIO has no such powers to stop, search, and most often than not, impound vehicles on the Nigerian roads. They felt that the Federal High Court was wrong and appealed the decision. I hope they don't suffer the same brainwave to go on appeal, because in law we know about concurrent holdings of lower courts. But I think that the point should be made even clearer, that what Nigerians have witnessed over time is the overzealousness of these law enforcement agencies at this level against the citizens of this country, no less motorists, in the use of their... We have just barely finished with the tinted glass. Yeah. I was here where Kayode interviewed me because, like I did point out, about 9 years ago, this same issue came up. I personally took it to court. Now, as if there was no lesson learned that time, it was reintroduced again until they have to, run away from it once more. So it is either the FRS or the VIO or the... Nigerians have become overwhelmed by the excesses of these agencies. So the Court of Appeal should be commended. The lawyer, Marshall, who is also an associate of Femi Falana, should be seriously commended, just as we have, commended very many other public interest litigators, many of whom are lawyers, who are challenging these excesses in our view. And I think we should just focus on the security crisis in the country rather than dissipate undue energy on what Nigerians ought to enjoy as freedom of movement.
So what now will be, I know that security is big on everybody's mind, but if you permit me just for a moment to add and ask, What then now is the role of the VIO? How can they be effective if they can't arrest, impound as stated by the court in that judgment?
So, again, they should go back to the enabling law establishing them. None of these agencies is hanging in the air. What has happened is that over time, they arrogate to themselves powers that they don't have. In fact, Buki, you are right when you said that years ago, here in Lagos, considering the menace they constituted, the government of that day directed that they should go back to their offices and do the administrative works that they are designed to carry on with, rather than coming to the roads and then compound and conflict the job of other law enforcement agencies. Because as it is, what they were doing, like I said, is purely the functions, statutory functions of the traffic division of the Nigerian police force. And most often than not, you see overlapping of this responsibility. In fact, they stay few meters away from where the police is. Yeah. So when the police finishes with their stop and search, you face the next within the city area. We're not talking of express road like this. You have road safety at one corner, you have them at another corner, you have the police, you have LASMA, and that is talking about Lagos. So the Court of Appeal was right to affirm the decision of the Federal High Court. They should go back to their office. If it is found out clearly that this is a duplication of responsibility, this is a good moment to collapse these agencies, because it adds to the overcost, it adds to the overhead, it increases the cost implication of running all of these agencies. Because as it turned out, the Court of Appeal is clear that you cannot usurp the functions of the police. In fact, the court went ahead to say that the idea of imposing fine should be reserved for the courts. If you find any transgression by a motorist, your responsibility as a law enforcement agency is to charge that person to court. We made the same statement with respect to the tinted glass thing, and quarried heavily with the idea of demanding that fees should be paid into private accounts. Yeah, I mean, it's a country regulated by law, yes.
You know, this is something you find across board. You go to the airport, for example. I mean, you go to other climes, and the only interface you'll have at the airport is with the airline officials who then go through your document and, of course, the immigrations, and then they'll pass you. But here in Nigeria, from agriculture quarantine to NDLEA to SSS. Come on, and that's even not counting the ones you met outside that have harassed you. So it's almost what we find on the road. So wherever you travel, you always find one headache or the other. But I want you to speak to
except that you were charitable to leave out the touts who are just...
Those are the ones I said you meet outside.
Non-state actors.
So on the road now, in terms of operationalization, every Nigerian, or at least a large number of the population, have seen this judgment. By the way, we've had this before. It's been running since 2023. Time and again, we get some sort of pronouncement. We had it in Delta, even in Kogi, and here in Lagos. So how should Nigerians approach VIO now, the next time they see them on the road, which I imagine will be this morning? Maybe this morning. Should I, as I'm approaching them, should I stop and say, have you seen this court order? You cannot fine, you cannot stop, you cannot impound, confiscate, or
you should not be here.
Or you should not be here. Or should I just respect myself and submit so that there's no embarrassment? How should we approach this?
I remember this was exactly the same question you put.
Oh, yes. Because the law is one thing, judgments are one thing.
No. See, for some of us, and it should be for every Nigerian, you don't just hear the law, you believe in it.
Right.
In short, it starts that way. If there are no force of conviction around what is going on, the strength of whoever oppresses you lies in your weakness. And it starts with that ambivalence, whether indeed this is it or this is not it. The social media has made this even simpler. But yesterday when you were, I had a long, but I got snippets of what has happened. By the time you politely tell a law enforcement agency what has happened, he being a law enforcement agency, ought to know that this has become a judgment of God. In fact, you're running the risk of exposing your superior, no less the head of that agency, for what we call contempt of court, if you proceed. Because God forbid, if you meet people like us and you run foul of what I'm telling you now, you are preparing very solid ground for the next contestation. And that is how every person mustn't be a lawyer. But Nigerians must know that, in fact, the action was instituted pursuant to your constitutional right to movement. It's fundamental, it's guaranteed. We don't just hear it, we believe it. And we want to be sure that we are not from Ghana or Cameroon. I kept seeing it. So, Nigerians, and thanks for the media, for you people who are highlighting this, is part of the whole sensitization program. Here we are. When the judgment was delivered at the lower trial court, they felt, which is right, I mean, the option they have is to appeal, and they did appeal. The Court of Appeal of 3 panel justices have now, dispassionately looked at the matter and have come to this verdict. VIO should waste no further time. They should not incur the additional cost and exposure. And once you are cited for contempt of court, it is a criminal, a quasi-criminal matter. That will disqualify you from that office. So it's by far more than just saying we will not obey. In fact, I expect that from this moment, they should all be withdrawn all across the country.
And I believe the ruling is binding on all 36 states of the Federation and the Federal Capital Territory.
VIO is VIO. So it is not VIO of Mushin or of Gwagwalada. VIO operational in Nigeria. And if they choose not to, I'm sure that those who found the courage to contest it in the first place.
Mr. Malaka, we're totally out of time. We're literally out of time. But I know you have a take on national security. We could do that in just a minute.
In relation to...
No. Any comment you talked about which will be focused on issues of national security?
Well, I think quite
1 minute.
Quite a lot is happening. I mean, we have seen the reappointment of... appointment of the former CDS as now the substantive Minister of Defense. Since you said I don't have time, I wanted to, analyze what that occurrence is in the history of our country, where somebody was relieved of his job as a CDS and is found very suitable to take on the... But I think that in the entire mix is the need to have a more secured country. And we all need to be interested in it, do the best we can to collaborate and then assist the state. But I think it is the thinking of the Nigerians that not quite much, not enough is done to secure this country the way it should. And we have all that it takes to get Nigeria as a secured country within the Committee of Nations.
And indeed, that was the optimism expressed by the Minister of Defense when it was, former outgoing CDS upon his retirement. We must anchor at this point, and thank you very much, Mr. Malaki Ugumadu, constitutional lawyer, for joining us on this particular one.
The pleasure was mine. Thank you.
Yes, indeed. So when you encounter vehicle inspection officers in those corners where they always hide, waiting for you, be sure to quote Justice Judge Oyewumi's ruling from the appeal court barring vehicle inspection officers from impounding, inspecting, or confiscating your vehicles, and refer them to that judgment. We'll take a moment now. When we return, it will be time to touch on politics from Cross River State. Stay with us. We'll be right back.